Hello, bookworms. Welcome to the Book Hangover Club, where the only cure is another great book. In today's video, we are going to be getting into my personal favorite genre of romance, and that is detective romance, especially if it is a book series, because I'm just greedy like that. Before we get into this video, I do just want to add that, personally for me, when I'm looking for a book to read, something that, or not even when I'm looking for a book to read, but when I'm reading a book after I finished it, something that would really classify a book or a book series as a 5-star read for me, a book that has a lot of balance. I want to know that the author really took their time um, giving us character development and giving us a really layered, in-depth plot, and just really play up like that romance. Like, I would say I do enjoy a slow burn. I don't like when things happen too quickly. I feel like I can't really classify a slow burn as something like, if the characters get together in book 2, I feel like that's a slow burn. If the characters get together in book 1, then I feel like that's like a slow, that's like a medium to slow burn. I do love a good slow burn. I do love, the angst and the yearning. And don't get me wrong, I love the spice as well. But I feel like the spice on the list of things that are important to me, the spice is like the very last thing, because I feel like if you don't have all those other things, then the spice just kind of, it just doesn't hit the same. Starting off strong, the first series that we're going to get into is the Hazard and Somerset series by Gregory Ash. The mystery in this series is one of the strongest parts of the series. It's very layered, complex, and honestly genuinely surprising. And I would definitely categorize it as one of the slowest burns I've personally ever read, but it's definitely completely worth the payoff. The characters are incredible. There's incredible character development over a span of multiple books. The complicated history between Hazard and Somerset makes this relationship feel earned. The emotional healing is just as important as the romance, and there's definitely a lot of emotional healing to be done. I definitely became invested in who these characters were as people and not just as detectives. The first book literally hooked me immediately and just made me want to keep reading. The book Hangover verdict on this series is a must read, especially if you love long form, slow burns, and complex mysteries. There's definitely a lot of books in this series. I would even go as far as to say, like, I'm so greedy that even though there's so many books in the series, it still wasn't enough. When I got to the final book, I was still craving, like, I could have read an additional 10, 20 books about these characters because I just love them so much. The next book series recommendation is Power Exchange by A.J. Rose. I would definitely say this is one of the better written detective romance series that I've personally read. There's great chemistry and an interesting relationship dynamic between the two MCs. I really appreciated that the author definitely was not afraid to take risks. There's definitely a lot of emotional depth and character growth. And I'd also say that I learned a surprising amount about the BDSM community without it feeling, exploitative in any way, especially when it comes to such a subject that's kind of taboo by society's standards. I would definitely recommend checking the trigger warnings before reading. Again, definitely check the trigger warnings before reading. If I'm being fully transparent, I did not finish the series. Not because it wasn't well written, but because the content just became honestly too heavy for me personally. I read 75% of the series, but by the time I got through book three, I just couldn't even touch book four. So that's why I say again, definitely check the trigger warnings. The book hangover verdict on this series is worth reading with trigger warning awareness. The next series that we're going to get into is one of my personal favorites. It's the first detective romance series that kind of sent me down the rabbit hole of looking for other book series in that same genre, and that is Seven of Spades by Cordelia Kingsbridge. Like I said, this is the series that made me fall in love with detective romance. Levi is one of my favorite main characters. There's fantastic character development. I loved watching Levi softer side come out because, in the beginning of the book, he definitely presents himself as like this cold, hard shell. But throughout the series, you kind of get to understand why he is the way that he is, kind of get to see, a much softer side of him. The overarching mystery in this book series spans throughout the entire book, which is something that kept me hooked from beginning to end. Very layered and very well written. Like I said, it kept me hooked from beginning to end. And there's definitely a great balance of romance and mystery. I wouldn't say either side was lacking in any way, shape, or form. This is a series that I highly recommend. Over verdict is this is a must read. And I would also add, when it comes to that series, that, like I said, the mystery is very layered, it's very strong. It's not super heavy and descriptive to the point where it's like hard to stomach, I guess. Um, and there are some books in this series that I'm going to recommend where the mysteries involved are very heavy. And they definitely don't hold any punches when it comes to what the detectives are having to deal with. Power Exchange was like that. Um, the Hazard and Somerset series is also like that. So I would say the mystery in this book series is a tad bit lighter. Um, Definitely easier to stomach, but still a great read overall. Felt like it was important to bring that up because I feel like some people don't want to read about goriness and going into details about the murders and how this person was killed and, just describing the bodies and stuff like that. So I would definitely say this book series is a little bit on the lighter side compared to the other books that I'll be recommending. Next on our list is the Big Bad Wolf series by Charlie Adhara. This series is a perfect blend of detective mystery and romance. Even if you are not normally into fantasy, which I usually am not, this series is still very approachable. It features a human slash werewolf relationship, which adds a little bit of a unique twist. I definitely love the reversed grumpy sunshine dynamic. A lot of strong mystery that makes you want to solve the case yourself. The mystery aspect is very, very strong. That's something that I personally love, and that's something that I hope for when I start a book series. This series has great world building without, overwhelming the story. You really get into the dynamics of, you know, being a human and dating someone who is a werewolf, and the politics of, a werewolf dating someone who is human. Fantastic chemistry between the two main characters. The book hangover verdict on this series is a must read. The next series that we're going to get into is the Hacker series, the Mind Hacker series by AJ Rose. Series definitely gives me Criminal Minds vibes. It is from the standpoint of FBI behavioral analysts. It's from their perspective, so I think that's something that definitely makes this series unique. The profiling aspect was very, very fascinating. It has strong mystery with a different investigative angle. Definitely a forbidden romance. Just by reading the book, it was easy to tell that like they were meant to be together and that it was going to happen no matter what, no matter how much they fought it. I definitely enjoyed the angst as well. Excellent chemistry. And I think if you love Talbauer's Noah and Cole series, then you would probably definitely enjoy this one as well. Book Hangover Verdict is highly recommend. Next in our lineup is the Valor and Doyle series by Nikki James. Felt connected to both characters, but more specifically to Quaid Valor. I just genuinely loved the character. Honestly, wanted him to be happy. This is one of my favorite detective duos. I loved the emotional growth throughout the series, the layered mysteries that never felt predictable in any way, shape, or form. Um, Fantastic character development and just a great balance between romance and investigation. I think Nikki James has an engaging writing style. Overall, this series is, in my opinion, very easy to become emotionally invested in. I know I definitely was. The book Hangover Verdict on this series is a must read. The final book series that I will be recommending is The Spectral Files by S.E. Harmon. This series, the most recent detective romance that I've read, and it definitely has a paranormal aspect to it as well. Overall, the series is very well written, very engaging, very realistic. Like, I think how the character in the book goes about it, I think that is how I would go about it as well. I think his reaction is very, very realistic. And overall, like, he is just this book series is so funny. Like, I found myself just sitting in a corner laughing so many times because the main character in this book is just so funny. There's lots of balance between, um, him trying to deal with the aspect of seeing ghosts as well as, the fallout of his ability and how it's affecting his life. So, a lot of the laughter definitely balanced out the heaviness of some of the were happening, around the characters or like the things that they were dealing with. This is a really, really good series. I highly recommend. Okay, so I actually lied. The final book recommendation series in this video is Memento Mori book series by C.S. Poe. I love this book. I would say as far as like spice goes, it wasn't super heavy on the spice. So if you're someone, in order for you to read a book series, it has to have that, then maybe this isn't the book series for you because the spice was definitely on the lighter side. I think this is a very beautiful book series. The way that the main character, approaches death, beautiful in a haunting way. And I think just reading it, it definitely invoked a lot of emotion within me. C.S. Poe is a great author. Words and the way that the story is written just causes you to kind of paint this picture in your mind. And the way that they delve into the mystery and dealing with crime that took place 50, 60 years ago. And, just the way that they approach it, the way that they approach the victims, how they really give them, their autonomy back in a sense. This is a very, very beautiful series. I highly recommend. Let me know what you guys think. Have you read any of these books? Do you plan to read any of these books? If you do read any of the books that I recommended, definitely come back to this video and drop down in the comments and let me know what you guys think. Did you agree with, my takes or the opinion that I had? If you'd like to join the club, please feel free to click the follow button and stay tuned for the next recommendation video.